Just wanted to make a quick 100-mile review video on the GT Aggressor Pro, $299 at Dick's Sporting Goods. I do have about $150 in upgrades, mostly just comfort things, more so than performance. A few things that are performance-based, but we'll start up front here. Oh, and if you've watched the other two videos, did finally get a bike stand, just a cheap Rock Bros. They sell them on Amazon. Works great. It's phenomenal. I'd still like to have like a frame clamp style, but for now this is perfect. So up front, I did put a 35 millimeter stem on the bike, and the orange bolts are just a dress up kit for that stem. The stem was 15 bucks. The bolts were like 10. So I have $25 in that stem. It brings it back from what this is, like 90 millimeters. I just felt like I was way too far out over the front tire. This, with the 35 millimeter stem, brings it back to a much more comfortable rider position. For me personally, I'm 5'10". That's a medium frame. I'm right on the line. I think I could have got away with a large frame, but my background is moto and or BMX bikes, so this is huge compared to a 20-inch BMX bike. So I'm content with the medium frame at 5'10". But again, 35 millimeter stem brings the bars back. Pretty comfortable for me. I did kill all of the plastic retainers for the cables. The ones that didn't break while riding, I took off and put zip ties on. I don't want that mess while I'm riding. Added just a bottle cage, $7 at Dick's when I bought the bike. The orange bottle cage bolts, again off Amazon, they're like 10 bucks a set. Now more performance / comfort. These pedals, I'll try to add a link, maybe in the description if I can. Amazon, like 25 bucks. They match the chain ring. It also came off Amazon for 10 bucks. The pedals are a massive necessity compared to the plastic junk that comes on these bikes. Again, not a dig on GT, not a dig on the Aggressor Pro. At $299, I'm thankful it even had pedals. But these pedals are a big upgrade. They've hit some rocks, they've done some banging, and they work great. Bearing seems to be great in them. The IXF cranks and hollow bottom bracket, again, like 45, 50 bucks on Amazon. So far, so good. I do keep an eye on those bottom brackets. Kind of just put a wrench on them every once in a while and make sure that they're tight. I am pretty aware, listening for noises and creaks and pops. Nothing to this point. The chainstay guard, absolutely got to have it. With that derailleur not being a clutch derailleur, it just slaps the heck out of that chainstay. So you have to do something. That rubber chainstay guard was $8 on Amazon, which is really pennies to keep the bike looking and operating a little better. And plus, it helps to not hear that thing slapping the frame the whole time you're riding. The only other thing I added was the slime tire tubes. They're 13 bucks. Before I go tubeless, that's like I felt was a great option. A couple of my buddies that mountain bike a lot more than I do, or did prior to this bike, definitely they run the slime tubes and seem to like them. To this point, knock on wood, with slime tubes front and rear, I haven't had any flats. In the first 15 miles I owned this thing, I had 2 rear flats. So not the bike's fault, just what it is. Now I have this wheel set. There's SRAM hubs and Sun Inferno rims. I'm gonna run them. They're set up to run tubeless. I just am sort of waiting to decide what I'm gonna do tire-wise. I want something reasonably aggressive, but I do spend some time on pavement. I ride to the trails, ride to my kids' baseball games. So I don't want something too knobby, that adds roll resistance. But I'm gonna set these up in the near future here, tubeless, and I'm gonna put some sort of mousse in the tire, kind of run flat. Plus, with it being a hardtail, some of the things I've gotten into are a little bit rough. So I'd like to be able to air down that tire and have something in that tube, a run flat mousse. So that's coming in the future, but for the now, I'm okay with this. This hub will accept, I think, a 10 by rear sprocket, so I have to make a decision what I'm doing there. Definitely sticking with the 1 by up front. My complaints about the bike, keep in mind, I'm not whining about this. This is a $300 bike. My complaints are what you would imagine. The pedals stock are junk. The crank stock are junk. and that 3-piece front sprocket, not really, just adding more junk to go wrong while you're riding. Again, $300 bike, not mad about it. I knew it had those things before I bought the bike. For less than $100, you can resolve those issues. The other complaint, the fork. Again, a big step up from like your low end bikes, but it is pretty wicked. And there's adjustment, preload adjustment, but I don't know that it functions. Not like moto suspension, at least. I can say that it doesn't function like that. I think the nature of the spring and oil fork is a lack of adjustability or comfort, but comparatively speaking to air. But I will say that everything I hit, every time the front wheel's off the ground, the thing bottoms out or springs to full, up position, and it's loud and obnoxious. It's better than nothing, but it's pretty rough. And it has leaked. I don't want to say it leaks, but it leaves oil on the tubes every time I ride. I can't imagine there's much left in it. The only other complaint I have is with the micro shift derailleur. It functions exactly how I'd like it to. I don't necessarily like that with the shifter you can downshift twice if you push it the whole way. I don't know. That's okay. But the only thing I don't like is how slack the chain is. Now, nature of the beast with a non-clutch derailleur, so I understand that. I am going to also upgrade that. But again, it makes sense to do that at the same time I do the wheels, in case I go with a 10x rear sprocket. But for the meantime, this is a very trailable bike. I've ridden 100 miles on it, no major breakdowns. People are commenting on the other YouTube videos, oh, this bike's garbage, mine fell apart. I understand the world we live in. The consumer world is you want to buy it and go ride it. You have to have, I will say, if you're going to buy this bike, educate yourself. Even if it's just YouTube videos. I learned a ton from Wolf Tick, and there's a ton of guys and gals out there doing build series on this bike, reviews on this bike, even just, go to Park Tools YouTube channel and watch their videos on how to maintain a bike properly. Although there's no engine, these things require maintenance. Chain lube, as often as, I'm doing it every other ride. Makes sense. These things will last. This bike's been great to me. It has had no issues to speak of. And I think that's due to the fact that when I brought it home, I checked every bolt. I made sure everything was tight. I upgraded a few things, and the bike's literally awesome. Still way under the $500 mark on this bike with upgrades, and it's a phenomenal bike for a hardtail, for a trail, bike, for a guy in his mid-30s who's really just getting into it. I think the bike's great. So to finish it up, I would absolutely recommend this bike to anybody that's looking to get into riding a mountain bike and wants something of better quality, but doesn't want to go off the deep end with a couple $1,000 bike. I think this will introduce you well to the sport without breaking the bank. And, you learn, I think a hardtail makes you, a little better rider to learn on than a full suspension. I will say climbing too. I love the fact that the rear is solid. I also like the fact that the rear is solid because I know where it is. I can feel it when you throw it into a turn or you're jumping it. I know what that rear end's going to do. I don't have to worry about setting suspension or having, my rebound set properly because it's solid.